Hi, I'm Bev Beck Glueckert, and I am participating again this year in the ZACC Annual Print Fest. And I'd like to give a huge acknowledgement to the ZACC for continuing year after year to hold the Print Fest and to nurture printmaking and printmakers in our community. It's awesome. So I'm going to be doing one of the demos this year, and the demo that I'm going to do is a hot glue technique, which some of you may have used before, and I find it to be a very experimental and pretty loose type of printmaking. In years past, I actually used liquid glue because drawing with a glue bottle is a little bit more controllable than drawing with a hot glue gun. So this is kind of an older collagraph plate where I actually drew the lines of the fish with a glue bottle of liquid glue. The thing about that is you have to let it dry overnight before it's durable enough to run through a press. Some of the effects are beautiful. This is probably an example of a more labor-intensive form of using glue in a printmaking plate. I want to show you guys a much easier and a little bit more experimental and kind of loose, fun way to work with glue on a plate. So I've got a hot glue gun here, and what I've done is just taken a piece of recyclable mat board, which is what I actually use for this process. So the materials are inexpensive, and for people that say, well, I'd love to be doing printmaking, but I don't really have a press and I don't have the materials. And I always want to say, hey, if you have a piece of cardboard, recyclable mat board, if you can get a glue gun, you know, even a cheap one for $2.99, and you have even some kinds of paints or whatever, you can make it work. So what I've done is I've just kind of started working on kind of an organic sort of design here, that I've just done a loose drawing on this plate because it's springtime, so we've got a lot of new shoots coming up and different plants and things. So I've done a little drawing on here. And then what I'm going to be doing is just sitting down with my glue gun. And so basically what you're doing with the hot glue technique, once you draw the lines in, you're just basically filling them in, covering them over with the hot glue. And you'll have to practice a little bit first because there are, you know, some control issues and things. And the line will kind of thin out, and so there's kind of a little art to it, but you get pretty good at, you know, just kind of controlling the line and everything. So it's not difficult, and I find that the sort of uncontrolled quality and the inconsistency in the line is really fun to work with. Now, a lot of strings can happen, as you guys know, with hot glue. And so the great thing is that with the hot glue, you can peel off these strings and just get rid of them. An X-Acto knife works perfectly, and you can just dig into it and peel off any section. So I have a plate here that is the replica of this plate that I have actually inked up before. If you're a person that you don't have a press at your home or access to a press, this handy tool can work really well to transfer your design. So if you just have a wooden spoon working with the flat side of it, or you have a, you know, even like a rolling pin that you can roll over it after you've inked it up to transfer the design, perfect. This is an experimental process, so anything that you find that will work is up for grabs. Okay, so the inks that I'm using today are these Akua inks. These are water-based inks. They're not entirely water-soluble, but I really like these because they have some of the same kind of properties. They stay wet for a really long time so that you can apply them to a plate and you have plenty of time to kind of mess around before things start drying. So this is this plate And I've got all the lines in, all the hot glue lines. It's all dry, and I've inked this up once before, a couple times before. So I'm going to just ink this up. And what I've been doing with some of these plates is just kind of a random inking, where I've got all these colors on my palette here, and I'm almost in a way using the rubber brayers as paintbrushes, kind of. So I'm just kind of gonna go for it and ink portions of this up just in various, color combinations. I'll kind of go with what I had done before. I've got some oranges and greens in there, and let's just see what happens. So once again, I'm just kind of using these brayers like I would a paintbrush, and I'm just randomly inking. And I have to turn the brayer quite a bit, because what I'm really trying to do is get in to these crevices that have been created by the hot glue lines. So anything that you want to mix up color-wise, however you want to do your inking, is really up to you. Here, so I call this technique a hot glue collagraph relief, and I'm calling it that because it has both the relief surface, wherever you've hot glued, that is, creates a relief surface that stays on the top, and then you also have kind of the recessed surface, which is the mat board itself. So in that regard, it's kind of an odd animal. I left a space in here. I did not hot glue in the center because I had in mind that I wanted to add something. So I cut out of some cardstock, I cut out a couple of turkey vultures in flight, and I've been working with the turkey vulture image quite a bit in the last couple of years. So I'm going to ink these separately and put them down before I run this through. So I'm just going to take, you can see where I've done this earlier, and I'm just going to roll these turkey vultures up in black. And then I'm going to place them on my plate. I'll put that guy right there and put this one right. Let's see, I'll go like this. Go over here to my press. And we are going to set it down. And then use a piece of this. So I'm going to place this on top of the plate and kind of make my little sandwich here. Okay, so I'm going to run it through the press, and it's always kind of an experiment to see what we have. And for that reason, we have a lot of proofs that we make in printmaking, because you never actually know what you're really going to get, especially when you're using a technique like this. It's a lot of fun, but it's unpredictable, which is part of the fun. So I'm going to take this out and just see what I have. And now what happened there that I did not get a very good image on that? Okay. So I pulled a print from this earlier, and I think that I actually used a little bit more pressure on my press. So you might have to play a little bit with the tension and on the press. And like I said, you might have to do a few different takes before you get exactly what you want. I also wanted to show you guys earlier today, I was messing around with making a plate that was a beetle. And I've been seeing quite a few beetles out in my flower beds and everything. So once again, this is just the recycled mat board. And I did my drawing with the hot glue gun and inked it up. And so I was playing with this earlier, and I've got a few of the proofs up here from this plate. So you can see that it's totally up to you how you want to ink it, the colors you want to use. And the piece right here was my initial proof, which where I really didn't use that much color at all. And then of course I'm using different kinds of paper, and so depending on the thickness of your paper and what kind of paper you use, it's all, you know, those are all different factors that contribute to what kind of a print you're going to get. So as you guys can see, this technique is so experimental. You can be as basic and simple as you want. You can create insects, you can be elaborate, you can spend a ton of time, like on the piece I was showing you earlier. You can cut out additional pieces to add to your print, like the pieces that we've done here. So the sky's the limit, and I hope that you guys will take this technique, experiment, and look at all of the other demos, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys at the Print Fest this year and years to come. Happy printmaking!